We are extremely fortunate to have Kevin Hussey here with us today. I've wanted to do this for the last 4 years, and we finally have it. So I think you'll enjoy this presentation a lot. His demonstration is just, you're going to want to use this tool all the time. So I'll let him tell you a little bit more about himself, and then here's Eyes on the Solar System.
Thank you. I'd reserve your applause until you see this. Right? You guys are very generous right off the bat. First, I want to start by saying that I have a group here. I'm a technical group supervisor at JPL, and my group's visualization, technology, applications, and development. Sounds impressive, but when you realize that technical group supervisors is the lowest form of management at JPL, just want to put it in perspective. But I do have the pleasure of running a group of 10 folks whose responsibility is probably one of the coolest on lab. Is we have the privilege and honor of taking the scientific and engineering data and using whatever technology we can get our hands on to help demonstrate, visualize, explain that data to the general public. That's a very wide audience, all right, general public. But one of my favorite audiences, of course, are teachers. I'm a frustrated elementary school teacher. That's what I was going to do right out of college. I came here. I had done all my student teaching. I was ready to go at an elementary school, and then I came here for the summer, and I happened to have an aptitude. This was in 1979, by the way. It was a very long summer, okay? In terms of, I stayed for 16 years working in the image processing lab. Didn't quite make it yet. When I grow up, I'm going to be a teacher, all right? But I did that for 16 years, got involved with using image processing to make animations, made a couple little films, ended up at Disney feature animation, did that for 8 years, films from Hunchback of Notre Dame through Chicken Little. If you're very patient and you read the credits, you'll see my name after the caterers. No kidding. Technology comes after catering. Okay. Then about 12 years ago, I came back to JPL and with the charge of what can we do now? And it was, after talking to a few folks and looking around, it was rather obvious that the next big thing, still is a big thing, are video games, game engine technology. Kids, people love to direct their own movies, if you will, to play their own games. And so I started, instead of animators, I started hiring software engineers that could write video games. And we did, so I don't want to get into the whole years, 10 years. But what I want to do, what my hope is, because I only have 20 minutes, is to make sure that you kind of get a good taste of what one of many tools we developed can do. This particular tool is called Eyes on the Solar System. And when you go to eyes.nasa.gov, now on the table back there, there's going to be little business cards that have that link, eyes.nasa.gov. You'll be asked to download and install. Basically, it's a video game. And when you do, if you're on a PC, you'll have an icon like this on your desktop. If you're on a Mac, it's hidden in your user applications folder. And we did that for teachers, because I know many teachers don't have the ability to install software on their Macs, right? Well, we've taken it, we slid it over into that application folder so that you don't have to, it doesn't do a normal install, all right? Just so you know. So when you install it, you'll have this icon. When you double click the icon, and this is a live demonstration, what you're going to get is there it is. It's absolutely nothing. What you're going to get is this splash screen. Now this lets you into 3 of our 4 main software packages. Eyes on the Earth, which works very similarly to what I'm going to demonstrate with the solar system, but it is about the Earth. Eyes on the Solar System, there's 2 flavors, advanced and simple. And then Eyes on Exoplanets, where we do a visualization where we allow you to fly to any of the over 1,700 planets that have been discovered around other stars. So all 3 of these I think you'll find interesting. Again, on any one of these, I could stand here for probably a day and never show you the same thing twice. These 3 packages represent about 100 gigabytes of data. Now, For those of you that, after you see the presentation, if you want to use this, I have clearance from my sponsored headquarters to allow you to download the whole package from the Amazon cloud. We push everything up to the cloud so that that's where you can access things from all over the world. But if you have the capacity to download 100 gigabytes of data, then you don't have to be on the internet to run it. Otherwise, you need to be online. The version I'm running today is offline, just because I never know what the wireless connection is going to be like. So while the computer's online, the files I'm going to be accessing are sitting here right on my laptop. All right, so I'm going to start with Eyes on the Solar System, the advanced mode. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a visualization of what's called the J2000 equations, or how the motion of all the planets and the like. We put trajectories in for spacecraft, for comets, for all sorts of things. And then we give you a virtual camera. Now, first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to go full screen. There's a button here. Go into full screen mode. It just looks better if it's full screen. And if we could get these lights that are on me just off, okay? Thank you. And in fact, any lights that are facing us, because it's space, it's supposed to be black. So, and this is one of my biggest difficulties in presenting this, because space is dark, and it looks best when the room's dark, okay? So as low as the light you can get without scaring people, that'd be good. Okay, so this is the kind of a textbook view of the solar system. Like I said, we put all these equations in, and it doesn't look like anything's happening right now, but everything is moving in real time. Then what we do is we give you a camera. I'm holding up my mouse. It looks a lot like a mouse, but it's a virtual camera that you can place anywhere inside or outside the solar system from any time from 1950 to 2050. And I'm not exaggerating, okay? And I'll demonstrate a lot of this, all right? First thing is, I already told you you have a camera. Well, we had to put a very simple camera model, and that was you just click and drag, and your center point is the center around an orbital camera. So I'm just clicking the left mouse button, and as you're going to see, you're going to get a much more realistic view of what our solar system really looks like. We show it in books as a group of concentric circles, but it's on a plane. And all I'm doing is just dragging around. Gosh, that's unfortunate. Dragging around, and you can see the various planets in their correct 3D locations right this instant. Notice this clock down here, March 7th. Check the time. That's now, okay? And speaking of time, what I can do is there are 3 ways to change time. I can do time lapse by either moving this slider to the right, so that's 1 minute a second. I'm going to go to 1 day a second. Start to see things move a bit, okay? You can click here and say, okay, let's go to 1 week a second. Now, simple how long is it going to take the Earth? You can have a measure how long it takes the Earth to get all the way around. Well, it should be 52 seconds. I guarantee it will be 52 seconds. Or you can do this. It's a little jog wheel, where it's like a jog wheel on a video player. You can just click and it will go forward and then slow down. You can go backwards in time, all right? And then there's always now, all right? Get the idea? So far, so good? So you can control the camera, but I don't want to be focused on the sun. Hey, let's go check out someplace else. So if any label is a valid destination, actually any place is, because there's a free fly mode on the camera. I'm showing you the simple stuff. Start. I double click on Mars. Now that orbital camera will focus on Mars. We will download all the information about Mars, and in fact, this is the Mars and where all of the satellites, both man-made and natural, are located around Mars, okay? If it's offline, I'm going to go to Visual Controls. I'm going to make the stars a bit brighter because I know they're hard to see. I'm going to go High Bandwidth, which increases the quality of the models, but you need a computer with more graphics memory. This is a 4-year-old laptop, okay? It will run on a fairly old machine. It's just the better the graphics card, the better your performance will be. So now I'm looking at this, and this is what's happening at Mars right in the second. And I'm going to now double click on Phobos. And if you're at Phobos, looking back at Mars, this is what it would look like. Not quite right now, because we have what's called we have the ability, we've turned some lights on so you can see in the shadows. If you want, you can just click a little camera over here and get that view. This looks so much better on a computer on a computer screen than a projector. I'm going to go ahead and put these back on for a second. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to show you there's other lighting modes. There's floodlight, so you can put a big giant, light on the camera, right? And natural lighting, which you can't see anything in the shadows. So I'm going to go here, and now I'm going to ask you I'm going to show you that I'm going to go back to floodlight and say, let's look at this in 3D. So grab your 3D glasses, fold them at the score marks, and if you notice under visual controls, there's a little button that says view in 3D, all right? Put those glasses on, and you'll very quickly see that it totally works, right? Okay, now, you get the idea? So leave them on for a second. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go out, I'm going to find one of our, there's Voyager 1. Let's go take a look at Voyager 1. So at any scale, this will remain in 3D. Let me pop this down out of our way. Whoa. Could you turn the lights off, please? Thank you. Thank you. Hey, thank you very much. That's better. Thank you. Okay, so here's the RTG, the power supply. Now, I just want to caution you, be careful when the magnetometer boom comes around. Here it comes. All right, that gives me the cheapest thrill. You can't imagine, slapping people in the face. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how, but take your glasses off for a second. Take them off. And yeah, so under visual controls, see down here? This is a very important button. I'll demonstrate one thing first. So then you say, click on, so I just turned off 3D. You can also, while I'm under visual controls, I'll show you a couple other things. You can change from English to metric units. Okay? You can turn, well, let me go home. Hang on a second. Put this down for just close the top. Go home. Home, of course, is the sun in the middle. And then go back to visual controls. You can do things like, I want to turn off, let me turn off labels. Let me turn off orbit lines. And leave trails on, and then speed up time. Oops. You can see the planets, and those are spacecraft trails, by the way. Get the idea? So look, the capability is pretty powerful. I'm going to go ahead and put things back to normal. Put orbit lines on. Put the trails back in. Okay. So visual controls, have fun, play with those. View in 3D or not. Oh, by the way, constellations. Okay. We'll get back to those in a second. It's kind of my grand finales with the constellations. All right. Okay. So you get the idea how this works. So remember I said you could be anywhere, inside or outside, any time from 1950 to 2050. So I'm going to take you, if you know when events occur, you can go under date and time, and down to the 10th of a second, you can enter when you want to be, and flash, you're there. Okay? But people don't remember when events occurred. For example, when did Cassini, awesome mission, go into orbit around Saturn? Well, I don't know. Actually, I do. But under destinations, if you click destinations, and then you look here, I'm going to go to spacecraft, and then I say, ooh, look, outer planet missions. And then I'm going to say, oh, how about Cassini? And then let's go to the Saturn arrival. When you click here, when we change the date, we warn you. So say, okay, go ahead and take me there. Now you've got that orbital camera, but it's focused on Cassini. And this is what it would have looked like. In fact, let me go back to a shadow. There we go, shadow mode. That's natural, shadow lighting. So if you were at Cassini look at the date, June 30th, 2004, at 3:42 p.m. Pacific time, and Cassini appeared that big to you, that's how big Saturn would have looked to you. And also, it doesn't look like, it looks like it's frozen. It doesn't look like we're moving very fast. Check this out. Down here, that mile per hour indicator, that's the speed at which the camera is traveling. The camera. Because we can control the camera, right? Well, why am I moving the camera that fast? Because if we weren't, Cassini would just fly right by. So a hint here, because the camera's locked onto Cassini, that's the speed of the spacecraft. So at this point, and you notice it's getting faster and faster because it's being pulled in by the gravity of Saturn, all right? So now, in order to counteract that and to keep Cassini from just flying by, at some point we have to turn the spacecraft in the direction of travel and fire the rockets. Well, you're going to be able to watch that whole thing as it took place in real time. Now, on the night of the event, we actually had a predecessor to this running and showing folks what were happening. You can do that. We did that when Curiosity landed. We had 300,000 people watching the rover land in real time. Coming up, we have New Horizons. We have Dawn. You're going to be able to see the spacecraft while it's taking pictures of those destinations. You can ride along with it, okay? So notice I'm going 25,000 miles an hour. I'm going to speed up to about 5 minutes a second. There's 5 minutes a second. Oh, let me pause. Another cool thing for doing some classroom activities, if you left click and you move the scroll, if you left click, you just fly around. If you right click on a label, you have some choices. I want to say measure distance from, and the next label I click on, which I'm clicking on the Saturn label, you probably can't see it. So there is the distance between those two objects, their relative speed and light time, right? Between the two of them. You notice I'm going to go ahead and go back to real rate. Oh. So the spacecraft is traveling relative to the sun at 27,000 miles an hour. But relative to Cassini, it's traveling at 40,697, 98, 99. Okay? Now keep going. Leave that up there. This is kind of fun. And I'm going to speed up again so that we can see what it's going to do. Now, Cassini is going to turn to protect itself. It's going to use the antenna as kind of a shield to protect it from any particles. And by the way, those are the exact motions it made, okay, and the precise timing. It's going to cross the ring plane, and then it's going to turn, and I'm going to turn the camera so you can watch it, and it fired out of that particular engine. It has a backup, of course. And I'm going to pause again. See, now, that's what it looks like from Cassini. But if I was over on Enceladus, what would this whole scene look like? Fly over to Enceladus, look back. I mean, I'm just using the scroll wheel to scroll away. And there's Cassini, backing away. You can see, oh, it flew past Mimas, went up over the top, and there it is, above the ring plane, right? So I'm just going to double click back on Cassini and get back where we were. And then I'm going to hit play again. Just watch it for a little while longer because I need to move on. Sherry, if someone could be a timekeeper for me, I get a little carried away. So, how much time do I have left? Oh, great, 8 minutes. I will stop at that point to let people ask questions, okay? And all those motions you see it making right there, those are all what happened and when they happened. Just sped up by a factor of, quite a bit. Okay, now, showed you the past. Let me take you to now and move into the future a little bit, all right? So just what I'm going to say is go now, real rate. We had to change the Cassini model because Cassini had Huygens attached at that point. Now this one doesn't, right? And then go home. But as you know, it's coming up on Ceres. Dawn's approaching, is starting going to orbit. I'm going to double click on Ceres. We're going to change this model to a much better one. In fact, at the end of next week, we're having another release. We release about every 2 weeks. So, for example, we have a much better texture of Ceres. A really nice one. But for here, right now, I'm going to zoom back a bit. And there's Dawn, Ceres. Ignore this. This is the orbit line for Ceres. Okay? Because of the huge amount of scale we have to cover, we have to do approximations sometimes, otherwise it's too much data. So just ignore that line for a sec. But what I want you to watch is Dawn over time. I'm going to speed this up. Let's go to an hour. Let's go to 10. Let's go to a week a second. Watch this move that Dawn makes. How's that? Okay? Isn't that cool? It was going to, because of I don't know the exact story on this, pardon me, because it over-propelled for a while, we had to make a correction to bring it back in. It would have normally just kind of gone into orbit. But I think that's rather beautiful, 3D, myself. So We're also going to have a mode where as photos are taken of Ceres, we'll have a little picture-in-picture so you can see when the camera's snapping. We're working on that now, Amy. That'll be out in probably a couple weeks. So here's Dawn. I'm going to go back to now and go home. And the next big event will be, of course, New Horizons visiting Pluto. Kids are interested in Pluto. I'm interested in Pluto. We love it, all right? Our recently demoted planet. So what I'm going to do is if I double-click on Pluto, I'm going to take you to, instead of taking you right to the planet, we do something different here. We take you to the barycenter, the center of the gravitational field, because there's some interesting things to watch. So there's Pluto, Charon, very large moon, and its moons. Now, when we first visualized this, you notice anything odd about those orbits? So it's like we went to Stephen Hurley, the program. Stephen, for crying out loud, what did you do? Kev, nothing. So we checked with our navigation team. We checked with some folks, and turns out, I'm going to speed this up now. Watch this. I'm going to go 1 day a second. Because of the huge influence that Charon has, because it's so large, so close to Pluto, that when Charon gets near one of these, it pulls it, it makes it turn a corner. Wow. You can actually, isn't that the coolest thing? Look at that. That's wild. We don't see that anywhere else in the solar system. Let's go to a week a second. You just really, right? Isn't that neat? Back to real rate. And then I'll give you a sample. Now, we aren't done with this yet, but I'm going to give you a sample of what's going to happen during the encounter with Pluto. As I'm going to go date and time. I'm going to go to July 14th of this year. Just type in, I'm going to be able to see it. July 26th is too late. It's my brother's birthday. Okay, it's 14th. July 14th. And I'm going to go, let's say, so there we are on July 14th. And I'm going to find New Horizons. Let's double click on New Horizons. Now, there's New Horizons, and it's, I'm going to say real rate. It's not spinning anymore. Ignore that orbit line if you can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the view lines. And you can see, let me speed up. In fact, let me go back in time a bit. You see what it's doing there? It started snapping photographs. And I'm just going to run it a bit forward here. Let's go to 1 hour. Or 10. Whoops, a little fast. Shoot, I'm not doing a great job demonstrating this. I'm sorry. But if you would run this, what's the date? I'm on July 15th. Let me back up. So there's July 14th, 6 p.m. There we go. Real rate. You can see that the camera is it's moving between targets. And if I just say, let's go 10 minutes a second. There we go. You see what it's doing there? It's taking images of the various bodies, and then it turns toward the Earth, and it transmits back to Earth. So you get the idea. Now, when this is happening in real time, you're going to be able to watch it. So you're going to be able, and we'll have a little note up, taking a picture of Pluto, taking a picture of Charon, right? Okay, now, I only have a couple minutes left, and I wanted to give you this is what I do for general public audiences, but it's still kind of cool. And I will show you how we as humans have a very Earth-centric perspective, as probably we should. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the constellations, and I'm going to take you for a ride way out there, okay? So let me do, there we go, constellations are on. I'm going to double click on the Earth, so I'm going to take you to the Earth, and we're going to find, I like using Orion. Help me find Orion. If you see it, it's upside down. It's on the northern hemisphere, Kevin. This would help. You see it? You see it? Am I missing it? Yeah, there it is. Okay, good. So there's Orion and its belt. I'm going to fly out to Orion's belt, okay? And I'm going to do that. I'm going to first go to SMAP, which is we've recently launched, and get to see it. So there's it with its antenna, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera now in free fly mode. There's a little button down here, free fly, so that you can use the gamer controls, you know, the A, S, D, W keys, right? You play games. Or you can use arrow keys and the mouse, but I'm now going to take it in free fly, and I'm going to make a beeline for Orion's Belt, okay? And as I do this, I want you to watch the speed, okay, of things. So here we go. Off we go. You notice how quickly we left? We're now doing 80,000 miles an hour. There goes the Earth. We're now going 300, 400,000. We're picking up speed, okay? And you're going to see us flying underneath the orbit lines of various planets. We haven't even reached, there's Mars. We haven't got to Mars yet, going 30, 40, 50, 60 million miles an hour. We're still well within our solar system, but we're speeding up. There's 1 billion miles an hour, okay? See, Harriet, we're still inside our solar system. There goes Saturn, there goes, we're heading out. See these orbit lines up here? Now we're going 500 billion, 1 trillion miles an hour. Do you see any motion in those stars yet? Well, now we're doing 20 trillion, 60 trillion. Now we're going a quadrillion miles an hour, which is a ridiculous number. We're switched to light years, thousands of light years. So now we're heading out. I'm going to take us out and park us right in the belt of Orion. Boom. So I think those are the three, right? Those are the three stars. Let's get a little closer. Whoop, I went too far. So agree we're close, right? Now, I think we'd agree in a minute, if we had lived anywhere near the Orion system, we probably would have picked different constellations, because as we look back toward the Earth, all right, those are our constellations, but from the perspective of a star near Orion, okay? So I like to show this to kids as well, because it gives them an idea of the constellations are about our view, okay? And then I can say home, go back to the sun, and anywhere in our solar system, our constellations look fine, okay? Just fine. Okay, so I think I've done fairly well on time. I would like to, thank you. I'd like to say that I did bring those cards for everybody, and I think I brought over 1,000 of those 3D glasses. They'll be back there. So please feel free to take them. On the side, you'll see solarsystem.nasa.gov eyes. It's just another way to get to eyes, so they're still valid. But please take them all right? Any questions? You have time for questions?
Yeah, we don't. But
Okay.
we can definitely answer questions here locally.
Okay.
Okay. But we've got all our other
Okay.
sites.
Let me just move this out of here.
So Kevin, thank you. That was terrific.